Here's another teaching for Christians titled Possibilities. This was taken from a daily devotional called Turning Point. Well, Turning Point Daily Devotional by the Reverend Dr. David Jeremiah. Possibilities. For with God, nothing will be impossible. Luke chapter 1, verse 37. Theologians have speculated about what is possible for God. For instance, is it possible for God to create something so heavy that it would be impossible for him to lift it? Such speculations promote endless loops of conjecture without answers. But the Bible tells us all we need to do about God's ability. For with God, nothing will be impossible. For example, an elderly woman past childbearing age, which would be Sarah, she gave birth to a son, as did an unmarried virgin girl, which would be Mary. In both cases, they were told that nothing is impossible for God, as says in Genesis chapter 18 verse 14 and Luke chapter 1 verse 37. Jesus made the same point on several cases. He said it was impossible for man to save himself, but not impossible for God, as said in Mark chapter 10 verse 24 through 27. Jesus declared that God could save him from impending death if it was his will, said in Mark chapter 14 verse 36. He even said that nothing is impossible for the one who has faith in God, as said in Matthew chapter 17 verse 20. The point of all these examples is the same. We must shift our focus from ourselves and our ability to God and his ability. What is impossible for us is possible for him. What is impossible for man is possible for God. If you are facing an impossible situation today, look to God and trust his ability. Let his will determine the outcome. As talked about in, would say in Matthew chapter 26 verse 39. Christ wants not nibblers of the possible, but grabbers of the impossible. And the recommended reading for this daily devotional passage comes from Mark chapter 10 verse 24 through 27. And the disciples were astonished at his words. But Jesus answered again and said to them, Children, how hard it is for those who trust in riches to enter the kingdom of God. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. And they were greatly astonished, saying among themselves, Who then could be saved? But Jesus looked at them and said, With men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God all things are possible. In other words, with God, not some things, not a lot of things, not most things, but all things are possible with God. Let me also throw it in Matthew 19 verse 26. It also says, with God all things are possible. So anything imaginable and unimaginable, it's all possible with God.